Oh hey, I heard you got a new Ford. Congratulations. Yeah, I love my Fords. They're great. You try and make it reliable? Come here, I gotta talk to you. Look guys, I get it. Owning a Ford F-150 or Ford Mustang or anything that's on the Ford Performance platform, it's pretty nice. Now don't get me wrong, there are a lot of good things of why you should own a Ford, but there's also a lot of bad things. And that's what we're gonna talk about today. As a former Ford technician, make sure you guys watch out for these problems. Some of the problems vary on what type of engine you have. I have all three, well, pretty much all three. I have a 4.6, V6, and 5.0. If you are planning on getting a Ford or you already have one, make sure you keep an eye on this. Let's go ahead and get started with the V6. These V6 engines are actually pretty reliable, but I had issues. Some of these issues can also go to the 5.0 pushrod engines that comes in the Fox bodies and the 94 and the 95 SN95s. So the number one problem I had with this engine is overheating issues. Matter of fact, the first thing I had to do with this engine was replace the water pump. I replaced the radiator, coolant hoses, water pump, heater core, flushed the engine out multiple times. I replaced the thermostat, had to replace the thermostat housing. I also even had to replace this. This is where the coolant temperature sensor goes to, and it was cracked. Kid you not, I still have overheating issues. So the last time I actually had a coolant leak coming out from the radiator cap. Not sure exactly why it was overheating. Well, I do know why it was overheating. I was doing donuts. Yeah, right here. Another problem that I have with this engine, not necessarily the engine, it's the power steering pump. I don't know why, but any Ford motor that has this yellow reservoir, the power steering pump is always whining. Let me show you what I'm talking about. All right, listen. Every single Ford that has that yellow power steering reservoir sounds exactly like this. Let's go ahead and go to the 4.6 platform. As you can see, I have the dual overhead cam engine, 2 cams on top of each head, so 4 cams in all. When a normal GT usually have 1 cam, which is single overhead. This still applies to that same engine. 4.6, 5.4, 5.8, still the same. The problems with this engine is a little bit more easier to deal with. This right here is a little bit of a headache. One main problem that you have to deal with is spark plugs shooting out of the block.
What?
I know that doesn't make sense to some of you guys. These 4.6 engines and the 5.4s will shoot out spark plugs out of the engine block. You also got to watch out and do your spark plugs regularly, because if you don't, you might have a possibility of having a broken spark plug inside your engine. I had to deal with one. It's not fun at all. The 4 valve is pretty easy to get to the spark plugs. You just take these 2 bolts out, and then there's 4 coils underneath there. You'll be able to pull it out. Now, the single overhead cams, the spark plugs are right beside the injectors, and that kind of get a little difficult. It's a little easier on Mustangs, but on trucks it is so much harder because you have to get down real deep into the back of the engine just to get the spark plugs out. With it being a overhead cam engine, the timing chain wraps around. You can't really see it on this one, but it wraps around all the way up to the cam, all the way down to the crank. With that style, they use chain guides that are plastic. Whenever you start these engines up and you hear a little rattling noise,
This is what it sounds like.
more than likely either your tensioner is gone bad or your timing guides are broken. And that's with any overhead cam engine. And when you're replacing the timing, anything that has anything to do with the timing components, you have to take the valve cover off. And I don't know if you can tell, but you don't have that much room to just take the valve cover off. All of the front accessories off. Had to take everything off the top, everything on the sides, just to get the valve covers off, just to get the timing cover off. If you got broken guides, you're gonna have to pull the oil pan off. I actually got to replace either the tensioner or the guides on this engine. I just really don't feel like doing all that with this engine. Not right now, at least. All right, guys, let's go ahead and start talking about the engine most people would get, which is the 5.0 engine. The 5.0 engine is a huge upgrade between the 4.6, the V6 engine, but they still have problems. Also goes with the 3.5 liters, the EcoBoost engines, the camshaft synchronizers, which are these two pigtails right here, or the cam phasers. Now, Ford had this idea of they wanted to make more power and also have better fuel economy, which is smart. The only bad thing about it is the phasers. They had this in the 3-valve engines, which is the 2005 to 2009 Mustang engines that come in trucks as well. I'm not sure what year. If you didn't do your oil changes regularly, that's what messes them up, which can cause misfires, stumbling, and even reduce engine power. The 5.0 also has a timing chain with dual overhead cams. So if you gotta replace the phasers, you gotta deal with the timing. As a matter of fact, I had to replace the camshaft synchronizers 2 weeks after owning this truck because of that issue. Another issue with these engines is newer technology, they start to cheap out in certain areas. For instance, almost everything in this engine is plastic. If you touch anything or bump something the wrong way or move something the wrong way, it will break. I broke one of my coolant hoses that goes to my engine from the heater core, and this is how I had to do to replace it for right now. These little plastic pieces, that's the issue. I can't just replace that part either. I had to replace the whole entire hose, which is $300. And after buying a truck, you did not want to pay $300 to fix it. There's also one issue that all the Ford engines have issues with, and I know my buddy Aaron is gonna get a kick out of this. Every single one has oil leaks. Now, I don't know if it's because the way I drive them or what, I don't know. I can't get away from the oil leaks. I don't know if that's a Ford thing or what it is, but it's really annoying, especially when you build these two vehicles by hand in your garage. You replace every single seal that you can think about replacing, and you still have oil leaks. It's okay. So if I have that many problems with all three of my Fords, why do I keep getting them? I absolutely love these vehicles. From my first car to my second car to my third car. Every single one of these vehicles have put me through the ringer. I had some of the greatest moments with these three vehicles. It is unreal. And to be honest, if you have some type of mechanical experience, they're really not that bad to work on. If you guys are interested in any one of these builds, the 1998 Mach 1, the Drift Fox, the off-road Toyota FJ, F-150, or even the Camry, consider subscribing. It's actually been a minute since I've driven the 1998 Mach 1. I think I might take it for a spin today. If you're interested in this build, click on the playlist right here. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.